and welcome back. This is Emma on the channel The Vintage Unicorn, and thank you for coming back to my channel. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna have to edit this, or I might just put it in how it is. You know, it's a little more organic, I think. I wanted to lay over the groundwork of a few of the topics I'm going to be covering, just so that there's kind of an understanding, a consensus. Not to say that anyone watching wouldn't understand, but I think some of my vernacular and the way that I'm utilizing the vernacular may be better served if I kind of lay a framework, I guess. So I managed to speak with a providing physician who works with the residential treatment center that I'm employed by in my real life. And I questioned the doctor and I said, is there any basis in makeup application being a centering, grounding, experiential kind of thing? Is it possible that makeup application and beauty products could help people with eating disorders, people who are struggling through any number of mental health, substance abuse related topics, or maladies rather? And the doctor is absolutely amazing. But I will say that what he said I took with a grain of salt, because he's very utilitarian. So I don't know that he would understand the profound way that makeup, beauty, whatever, affects a woman, or even a man for that matter, but he's not one of them. So he started talking to me about body mapping, and a concept returned to me that I really wanted to discuss regarding women who are either recovering from or still afflicted by eating disorders. There is a tendency to body check, and at least for me, in my history of, bouncing back and forth, struggling with issues related to bulimia, I realized that I do body check. And what I see when I look in the mirror, when I look in the reflection of a window, when I look in the reflection of a vending machine, you name it, any reflective surface, I'm going to look in. And I'm going to look at my body. And what I see will change from minute to minute. One minute I might be like, oh my gosh, I look fantastic. And literally a minute later, I walk past the same window, the same mirror, whatever. Look at the same picture even. The compulsive selfies, that's another thing. And think, oh my gosh, I am absolutely disgusting. There was an issue at my honor ceremony, which my mother and my husband attended, where my mother took a picture of us, and it was a beautiful picture, but I literally freaked out because the picture didn't, at that time, scream to me thin, ideal, beautiful, whatever. But the interesting thing is, at least for me, when I body check, when I do the selfies, when I walk through and look in the mirror, when I pass the mirrors, the windows, whatever it is, I'm not looking at my face. I could have no makeup on, I could have great makeup on, I could have one eyelash hanging off. It doesn't matter. I'm looking at my body. I'm not looking at my face. The face is when you body map, in the pathways of the brain, we relate our body differently. We have to relate in time and space in our occipital lobe how our body relates to bodies around us, and that's how we have a basic understanding of our body parts and their functions. And for people with eating disorders or self-image issues or whatever it is, there is a focus in your body. I was doing trauma work with a marriage and family therapist here. He's something of a mentor to me. And he was discussing the effect that body mapping has and all this, and he was asking me where I could feel X emotion, whatever emotion it is. And for the majority of negative emotions, I'll feel it here. I'll feel it in my stomach area. I'll feel it in my arms. I'll feel it in all of the places that I'm self-conscious about. Even if it's a positive feeling, I can somehow relate it to the areas of my body that I don't feel are perfect. And no, I'm not a size 2, but I'm also not enormous. And there's a logical part of me that knows that, but there's a part of me that is also absolutely mortified when I look in the mirror, the window, the selfie, whatever it is. I don't know how many selfies I've taken that I've deleted and looked at in my deleted file, that was a fine selfie. And this may seem very first world, very, overprivileged kind of problem, but I don't think it is as much as we would like to think. Now, I'm not saying that eating disorders in general are not more prevalent among, predominantly white females in the first world countries, but obesity rates, and henceforth I would assume theretofore, issues with body image are occurring more often in the impoverished demographics. I watched a special, it was on YouTube actually, and it was the healthiest and unhealthiest diets by nation. And the countries that were the least healthy based on lifespan, based on rates of heart disease, diabetes, etc., they were not, America wasn't even in the top 10. But places like the Pacific, Marianas, the Hawaiian Islands, though they are part of the United States, areas in the South Pacific, Mexico, some parts of, Latin America and South America, those were the places where obesity was taking the greatest turn, and that's because industrialization, money, so many different reasons that cheap food is the only food that is readily available. There was another one I was watching, I forget who did the documentary, but he's done TED Talks, I believe, and he was jumping around from family to family, looking at this fat ideal, I guess, and being born and raised in Johannesburg, South Africa, my mother used to joke that, an overweight daughter will fetch a heavy price because you're a healthy wife. And there is that aspect of it, but there's also, in other populations, the aspect that obesity is a part of life. You're going to eat the fattiest parts of the animal. You're going to eat tinned meats, spam, all of these weird things that are easy to transport, that are cheap to manufacture, and last for a long time. But I think that was a little bit of a side tangent. So back to my discussion with the doctor, and he was telling me touching the face, very minor mapping of the face, could be therapeutic. It's a sensation that we have to really focus on. Our face is very sensitive, our lips, our cheeks, it's a sensitive part of our body, and our brain's own system of mapping our body holds our face in a different esteem. Not just us, meaning people in recovery, people with eating disorders, but all human beings. The face is a different thing. It's not body, it's something that we kind of relate to ourselves and who we are. So in touching the face, there is a somatic calming. Now I want to go into some of the vernacular that I'm going to be using, and part of my theory that I'm kind of working on is some of the things I'm going to be discussing have a lot to do with neurotransmission, areas of the brain, and though this is a very commonly discussed topic, the role of dopamine. And dopamine is a neurotransmitter, a chemical information package transmitted throughout the brain. It is implicated in Parkinsonism because in the ganglia that produce dopamine, there's a fault, and slowly but surely the dopamine required for smooth muscle movement dies off. But dopamine has a key function that relates to substance abuse, particularly with the stimulants, and a little bit with others as well. Dopamine is the sentient pleasure chemical of your brain, naturally produced in various amounts, through sex, through eating, through whatever. Artificially produced through introduction of CNS stimulants. So dopamine is the pleasure chemical, sentient pleasure meaning pleasure that was better than expected. So if I called up the dealer one day and I didn't think he was going to answer, I'm dope sick, whatever it is, and then all of a sudden he answers, though the heroin itself isn't going to necessarily give me a dopaminergic rush, the process of getting it did. There's a rush to it. There's an upper effect, even though in that process I'm getting a downer. Now, you look at cocaine, crack, methamphetamine. Cocaine being introduced into your body, whether it's nasally, whether you're shooting it up, inhalation, injection, whatever, and that's the same with crack, because on a pharmacological level, there is no difference between cocaine and crack except for the route of administration. So cocaine, crack, you're looking at about 100 to 150 increase in baseline dopamine production. Methamphetamine, you're looking at 1,500 to 2,500% increase. That's 25 times. Oh, wow. That's 25 times the amount of dopamine that you would normally get. 2,500%? Yeah, that's right. So if you look at something like good sex, you might get a dopamine boost of 45 to 60% throughout the whole encounter, and then more during climax. But food plays an interesting role with dopamine as well, and serotonin, and numerous other chemicals within the brain, numerous other neurotransmission chemicals within the brain. So I take a bite of whatever my favorite food is. For me, it's the sweets and the starches, exactly what I cannot have, my area of forbidden food, that if I eat it, trust and believe, I will either throw it up or really, really want to. I mean, to the point where I'll be shaking not to, because I know it's bad for me, whatever it is. But going back to dopamine, the good doctor turned me on to this article by Kenneth Bloom about dopamine deprivation syndrome. So it's a theory, but most science is, like, it's the theory of gravity. If I drop something, I know it'll hit the ground. It's still a theory, but there's merit behind it. And some indicators of having dopamine deprivation syndrome might be, as a child, you were perpetually underwhelmed. Things that other children may have taken a great deal of excitement in, not so much. I mean, there's a lot of reason why people introduce chemicals or introduce behaviors into their lives that will affect how we feel. And as disgusting as it may be, there were times, especially during my term of incarceration, when I was 21, got into quite a bit of trouble and did 3 years in federal prison. And that's, I think, when it really intensified. I mean, I would be covered in snot and vomit, and it's disgusting. It is, but if I'm being honest, I don't see it as disgusting. I didn't see it as disgusting, because combined with that was a rush, knowing that I literally hit the Control-Alt-Delete button on whatever I'd eaten, and I could go and be on my merry way. I'm gonna need to vape, I'm sorry. I prepared myself for this video logistically, and I haven't had too many fillers, so I think I've been speaking fairly well, but I wasn't aware that the subject matter would affect me as much as it is. Just kind of sweaty hands, that kind of thing. But in men and women with eating disorders, we're looking for something that isn't organically there. A change, a head change, control, whatever it is. And there are numerous theories, but there isn't anything concrete. They say trauma in childhood will likely lead to some kind of issue with an eating disorder, whether that be binge eating disorder, anorexia, bulimia. And in the Anorexics and Bulimics Anonymous book, they talk about, just in step 1, we admitted we were powerless over our insane eating habits. Exactly the same as AA and NA. 1, admitted we were powerless over our addiction and that our lives had become unmanageable. Admitted that we were powerless over our insane eating habits and that our lives had become unmanageable. Well, it is insane. Doesn't mean that I'm insane. Doesn't mean that anyone's insane. It means that the eating habit is insane. So back to the somatic experience, the experiential here and now of applying makeup. Now, the eye that I'm wearing right now, I'm actually very happy with it, except that my eyelash is a little funky, but you know. It took me maybe 20 minutes to do everything. You know, my contour's a little out there too. And afterwards, Stephen and I, my husband, took a walk and we had a picnic, and it was very nice. And during the time I was doing my makeup, touching my face, changing my face, I felt really great. It's like an adventure, especially when you're playing with all kinds of different colors, and it's very soothing. So the doctor said, well, I could see how there could be dopamine release, or, you know, some kind of anticipatory, cats be good, some kind of anticipatory release of dopamine when you like order a package of makeup online. But I'm arguing that there's more to it. That when I compulsively body check, when I apply the makeup, whatever it is, my mind is taking something out of it. That I can change this. There's control there. And whatever may be said about makeup being a mask to hide who you really are, I was telling my husband in the car earlier, I don't see Emma unless I see the crazy winged eyeliner and the contour. That's who I am. That's who I like to be. And there's nothing wrong with that. If I see myself as a drug addict and, you know, someone who has an eating disorder and this and this and this and a felon, then it's not healthy. But seeing myself as beautiful because I was able to do something with my face, with color, that is something beautiful. And especially in terms of having an eating disorder. So as pretty common, after I put the makeup on, you know, I checked in the mirror and everything, but I wasn't looking at the makeup. I was looking at my body. And when I got outside, I wanted to take a picture in the sunlight. And again, I deleted maybe 15 images, all the pictures that I'd taken, because something in my body didn't look right. But this is different. So the therapeutic value of beauty, and I know that sounds like such a contradiction in everything that I've ever learned in any of my training, any of my education, academia, in any medical journal I've read. Vanity is not going to translate as healthy. But what if it's not vanity? And maybe I'm just rationalizing having a huge addiction to makeup, but there is a calming factor to it. I take the time to transform. Or maybe when I'm particularly stressed, I've noticed I do this, I pull out a little compact and maybe I'll play around, add a little more eyeliner, whatever it is. And it's like harm reduction. And I know I've made a compelling argument against my compelling argument, but I hope to go deeper into that there is a sense of reward in having the physical malleability to alter your face. And maybe more than that. I know a lot of people will put like makeup on the décolletage, on the collarbone, etc. And that's cool. I would, you know, I don't know how to do it, but you know, maybe a little highlighter here I know how to do, but it's a very centering, grounding process. And in that grounding, you're more in tune with who you are. And that's just the truth. If you take 20 minutes and just touch your face, similarly to how you would put on makeup. So I'm touching here, and here obviously I'm not using a brush or a beauty blender. But it's centering. There's highlighter on my finger now, or contour or something. But there is an undeniable link between how I feel and how I put on makeup, or how I keep my hair red. Thank you, Overtone, by the way. I would not be able to have crazy colored hair and have healthy hair unless it were for Overtone. And this isn't a sponsored video, just thank you, Overtone. But thank you everyone for watching and kind of listening to my points. I hope I didn't ramble on too long. This is now an 18-minute video. So I think I've captivated enough of your time. So I will maybe script out my next video. I was debating on doing that, and come back again with some more points. I was thinking in the next video, I know this, it's like a medical trial or something, but taking my blood pressure, respiration, and pulse, pre-makeup and post-makeup, maybe anything like that to show, well, not an unequivocal, but a pretty darn compelling argument for a physiological difference compelled by my mind when I touch my face, when I put makeup on, and when I see the finished product. Because right now, I feel quite beautiful. And I'm speaking, and I'm talking about things that I love, and I'm talking about things that I know, for the most part. So thank you everyone for your ongoing support, and please, I think the subscribe function is working now. Like, comment, do all that cool stuff, and May 19th I will be picking a lucky winner for the Venus XL palette. Here's my little plug. Also, again, not sponsored by Lime Crime. I just love Lime Crime because, oh my gosh, the colors. But this look was made with the Venus XL palette. Can I just say, oh my gosh, I think it's called Flora. Anyway, some beautiful colors. So thank you very much, and I will see you next time.